Do you like the way you sound? You want more bass in your...
I like the way.
I can do it after too.
We'll put some bass. You can put bass.
I always add a little bit of bass.
I love.
Always add a little bit of bass. Because I think it was, I don't know what I was watching, but they said, I was at one of my work conferences, and the speaker on stage was like, I know most people are like, they don't like the way they sound. Because they record themselves, they hear it back, they're like, wow, that's not me. And he's like,
that's what you hear.
And he looked at everybody, he's like, that's you.
That's what you hear.
He's like, that's the way everybody in this room hears you.
Oh.
He's like, you hear yourself different because you're in your head with all the bones rattling and stuff like that. You sound great. You've been listening to yourself for years. But he's like, that's not what everybody else hears. So what you hear on that recording and that the Instagram meme talking about, hey, call me back. And it's like, hey, girl, call me back. That's it.
Yeah, no, we're going to deepen that up. Yeah.
It takes me back to when I used to record the voicemails back in the day.
Oh, with the music?
With hey, this is Jameel calling. And you hear yourself like, hey, girl, this is Jameel. It's like,
I remember I did.
Thank you for calling, ma'am.
I was
ma'am.
for you. Hey, this is Michael. Dun, 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 dun. Britney Spears.
Man.
Oh, that'll match. That's not bad.
And if you didn't have it close to the speaker, it wasn't right. You had to do it over. Yeah. And you that little tape recorder.
Oh my god.
Because it was all what was it? Cassette tape. So you had to it had to be perfect.
Perfect.
And it's 10 stages, right? You got to record it from the station. And if they're talking over the music at the beginning, you're like, oh man, I gotta wait an hour. Welcome to Fathernetics, Fatherhood Unfiltered. I'm Jameel. Welcome to the podcast.
Do it. You can never find somebody do it like me. I'ma turn it all the way up, cause it kamikaze. Go ahead and try, baby. You are gonna see that you'll never ever find somebody do it like me.
I have a jukebox on my credit card, and I went to pay at Starbucks, and the lady was like, "Ooh, I know you know what a jukebox is." I'm like, "What? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?" Anyway.
Oh, last night I was at a friend's house, and I was looking for like a Bluetooth speaker. I was like, "You got what do you call it? A CD man? Not a CD man, but a boombox." She's like, "A boombox?" I mean, a Bluetooth. A Bluetooth.
They should so bring those back.
A CD box, man.
That would be so cool. I bet you all the kids would be rocking boom boxes on their shoulders. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. As we continue to promise, we're going to be bringing on additional guests to continue these conversations around fatherhood. And of course, I say this all the time, but fatherhood to me is really a role that is personified by an individual who's caring for someone else. It's not a male or a female role, but it's more of an attitude, an approach, and a personality style, if you will. So today with us, we have Michael, who will be joining our podcast, if you will. So Michael, welcome. Say hello.
Hello, people.
Hello. So first, before we get into anything that's fatherhood specific, let's talk about how we know each other. It's kind of a funny story, and I tell people all the time. I tell people we were introduced by Janet Jackson. And they go, oh, that's, Janet? And I'm like, well, So, we went to, Nick and I, my husband, went to a Janet Jackson concert, and we saw you and your husband in the front row as the only row to ever have a Janet Jackson concert. And you guys were jamming, and we were like, okay, all right. And Nick somehow recognized you guys from Instagram, because I think he was following like the Janet Jackson thread. And I guess you guys, it came up because you guys were ready to go. You remember that?
Yeah, because I always see him commenting on other things, so his name comes up a lot.
He's popular on
now.
Instagram.
Yeah, I saw.
He's got quite the following. I'm like, I keep telling him, I was like, you need to promote the podcast. So he's like, I'm gonna get to it. I'm like, okay. So he's like, man, we should reach out to them, and say hello. And I was like, okay. So after the concert, I reached out to Trevor. Very nice. Responded. We chatted for a couple of weeks, and then that's how we all came together, and we met up, and we've been friends ever since.
Was that 2016? 16, because she did. Yeah, it was Unbreakable was released in 15, and then she went on tour 15, 16, and got pregnant, stopped, and did State of the World.
It had to be because it was right around the time that we first got Jacob. So, wow.
Yeah, because I remember you came over to our house with Jacob.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the first time I met you and Jacob. And now, yeah, that had to be 16.
Holy
17,
cow.
yeah.
Every time I try to think about how long it's been with some of our friends, it's like, wow, we getting into the thick of things. But that's okay. But I think what kind of really paired us together was the fact that we were going through our foster to adopt process, and you guys were just starting that process.
Just started.
So and I like to try to tell people, the process is really fun and exciting if you're really into it. And I think a lot of people really only get into it if they're really into it. So what did that look like for you? What kind of made you say, okay, we are ready for whatever we were thinking about going down this path?
Oh, wow, that's a good question, because I think about... I always wanted kids, even prior to meeting Trevor, because I've been surrounded by kids my entire life.
2 kids, 10 kids, 5 kids?
I could do many kids, but because I have many cousins that I'm older, that are younger than myself, and I always played that part in their lives where, the fun cousin, I was very active and almost father-like, playing games with them. And then when I first met Trevor, the first thing I told him was, I come from a big family. And he goes,
so how big is your family?
It's big. There's I'm on my father's side. There's 11. Ooh. So I'm at the point in where their kids, my first cousin's kids, I'm their age. Like my first cousin's there, and like they're well, maybe now 50s or 60s, and their kids are my age. So I was close to all of them, and so there was 11 of them on my father's side, and on my mom's side 7, and at that time when I was growing up, I was close to my mom's side of the family, so we're always seeing each other pretty much every day. We live like right across the street from each other, so I'm always playing with my younger kids. But fast forward with Trevor, I warned him. I said, "Hey, I come from a big family." He's like, "What does that mean?" Like, I love my family, so I'm gonna see them often, and you're gonna know them. all of that, and then so he knew I wanted kids. Like right up front, I was like, "I want kids." At the time, I wanted a girl, a girl and a boy. And so we went through the adoption stuff, the whole going to the classes. And
so I tell Nick all the time, one of the weirdest things for me going through the adoption course, there was a point where it felt like they gave you a menu.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to like choose, I want a kid this age, this sex.
Yes.
And it kind of felt weird at first.
Yeah. Actually, they said we couldn't have a girl. We could not have a girl.
Really?
And I was so upset because I found out later on when we ended up fostering that we could have a girl. And I wrote them a real, not was a nasty email, but like really like, why did you guys lie to me up front?
What'd they say?
But their excuse was because we couldn't give that motherly love, which I still fight to this day, meaning what is motherly love? I get it. Like we can give, as men, we can give that love. There's no such thing as, I'm going to say it, there's no such thing as motherly love. It's just love in general. I feel that's my perspective, because who's to say that I can't give the same thing that a mother can?
Right.
Like I grew up with females, so I know exactly what to give as a male and as a female.
Right.
So
because you've been exposed to both sides.
I've been exposed to both sides.
Yeah, and I think that's what I said at the top of the show is Fathernetics is not sex related, right? Male, female. And same thing for motherhood as well, because how many single parents do we have?
Right, and it was just growing up. It was just my mother, so she was playing both roles. She had to be the hard one, and then so at the same time give that love, which is another story. It was hard for her to give that.
We all have ebbs and flows, and I think it's a different perspective. And maybe we'll get into this before the show's over. It's a different perspective when you see it from a kid, and you're like, man, this is weird. And then you're an adult, and you're like, oh, okay,
yeah,
maybe there was a little
different there. But I take what I've learned from my mother There's some things I utilize to this day, and there's some things that I don't want to utilize, and I find myself doing it, and I'm like, ooh, you didn't like that, so why are you doing that? But the adoption process, it was a journey, honestly. It was fun. We found out things about ourselves, how we wanted to raise kids, and found out a deeper connection about each other, and then just listen to his story growing up and listen to my story growing up. It was like we're trying to tell our stories to each other during that time, like what we wanted, what we liked growing up as kids, what we looked forward to as kids, and then here we are, we're in these classes and learning about each other, learning about other people.
Big kids trying to get little kids.
Basically. Because I still feel like I graduated yesterday.
I do too. I'm like, I look at other people that are like, oh, so and so's Jacob's friends' parents, and I'm like, man, y'all old. Like, I don't look like that, but I guess we do.
Yes.
To somebody we do.
To somebody, that's to somebody, but I don't feel like I do.
No, I just, okay. So what would you say was the excited part about going through the adoption process before you had a kid?
Honestly, I had my eye on the prize. I just was so excited about having a kid around, being able to teach the right values, being able to just be there. My father passed away when I was 7, so my experience with having a father, I only have good memories. So I wanted to take those memories that I had and utilize them that I thought were great parenting skills when I was 7 that my father gave me. So I was looking forward to that. Basically, in the back of my head, I said, when I get a kid, I'm going to be just like my father from what I remember. Him being a great father, attentive, loving, caring, and fun. And then mixing with my mother a bit with that disciplinary action and still showing that love, but giving it a little bit more and exposing my kids to openness and calmness and a space where they'll be able to share their feelings. That's what I was thinking in the back of my head that entire time. And there was never a point where I thought I didn't want to follow through. I didn't want to do it because I wanted to do it for myself, and I wanted to do it for the kids that we were encountering at that time.
So it sounds like it's similar to me. I had a list, right, in my mind of all the things I wanted to make sure to personify from my childhood. Like, oh, okay, that thing my dad and my mom did, we gonna unroll that. I can say here today, it didn't really work out that way because. Yeah, best laid plans. What would you say was your scariest thing prior to actually having a child, going through the adoption process or the fostering process?
Honestly, I don't think I wouldn't necessarily say anything that I was scared of. I think what sticks out in my mind was being gay and then having a son and going through that thinking, what if he has those feminine attributes or anything that's related to being gay? I didn't want people to think that's he got it from myself or got it from Trevor. So that was always in the back of my mind, thinking because we got a boy, that this boy's going to be gay. That was always a caution for me.
And I think that's one of the distinguishing factors of being a gay father. There is like an additional layer of awareness that we're always having. Growing up, we dealt with the whole, we're gay. We don't want people to see us a certain way. We want to be ourselves, but we still needed to assimilate, fit in, not be front and center all the time. That's not for all of us, right? So there's some of us in the community that were like, whatever, I'm a pink flag, and that's what I got. No, and I admire that so much.
I do.
It's like,
I agree.
Whatever you got to say, this is what you got. I wasn't like that.
Me neither.
With the gay parenting, I do find that there's like 10 different layers of really think this through before you do that. Like, he wants to wear pink. Is that because I
like
did something,
pink, or I did something?
Pink is fine, and today he wears. I rock pink. Cool, pink is a color. Like, do your thing, but I don't want someone to be like, oh, he only wears pink because his dads
yeah.
are gay. So it's like, oh,
Yep.
that's an internal thing that I try not to put on him. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you wear pink, let me deal with my demons.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even ask questions. I say he'll like something that I'm thinking, ooh, for instance, this one we got their ears pierced, and he picked out an earring that was rainbow, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh God, why? Why? I think that's I initially think gay rainbow, but to him he's like, it's beautiful, it's cute,
it's colorful,
and it's colorful. I'm like,
it's crayons.
I'm like, ew. In my head, I'm like, ew. People are gonna think that you like that because of me, but I don't represent the rainbow. I'll say this: the last thing I think about, and I say this all the time about people at work, even on the board. The last thing I say to myself is, I'm gay. I'm everything else. I'm black. I'm a male. I'm an uncle. I'm a father. I'm a brother, a nephew. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm gay. That's the last thing that I think about because I don't want it to define me as a person, especially being a black male. It's not.
It's where people get hung up. They stop there and they don't hear anything else, and that's unfortunate. And I think that's the reality that a lot of straight people don't have to deal with. You don't have to enter the room with that flag around your shoulders, but we tend to have to do that regardless of how we present ourselves. It could be the last thing we say, but it's the first thing they remember next time they see you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, okay, let's walk.
Like I know people that walk in. Yeah, I'm gay. No, that's not gonna be me. You're gonna see what you see. However, you're gonna see everything else. You're gonna see this. You're gonna see black man. You're
See
gonna
it
see
all.
father. The last thing. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm gay too. Is like again the last conversation piece for me.
So I also spend a lot of time telling some of our friends and family, from a high level perspective, about our adoption journey. And ours was what I would consider like very honeymoonish, right? The way we came to connect with Jacob and how he came to reside with us and through the adoption process and our engagement with his biological parents and things of that nature was fairly subdued, right? But you guys had a different experience.
A different experience, I would say. It wasn't the easiest because we wanted to connect with their birth mothers. I mean, because we knew we're here. We're here to protect. We're here. I considered we're here as backup, just in case anything happened. That's what I was thinking at the time. But we wanted to make sure the birth mothers knew we were here to protect their kids, and we were there for them, for protection, not for anything else. And it just so happened, we were open for adopting them. And then, with Genesis, his birth mother obviously didn't like us off the back. She didn't like anybody off the back. And I took that in consideration. If I were in her shoes, yeah, heck yeah.
They're going through their issues, right?
Yeah, they're going through their issues. And I wanted to understand. So I understood everything she went through, everything that she shared that she was upset about, how her son was presented. I understood she didn't feel comfortable with that she had her son was with two men. I mean, hey, that's how you feel. However, we're not going to do anything wrong. I wanted to make sure of that. I was always trying to have conversations with her via email, via text, but she wasn't very responsive of that. But that relationship never became a relationship because she didn't. I would say she didn't allow it.
She wasn't open to it at all.
She wasn't open at all. All she wanted was her son. Like you can tell that she loved her son, obviously, but it was for. It was all for the right reasons. She loved her son, but she just couldn't manage her mental health, and it spiraled, and Genesis ended up becoming ours. I mean, I would say from day one, I felt like he was ours from day one, and I hate to say it, like just the way he looked at us.
I don't think that's a bad thing. That's the way I felt with Jacob as well, which is why when I look at you guys' situation, it was very like, well, maybe like something could happen. And but with Jacob, while that was always in the back of our head, we weren't really scared about it because the whole process was really kind of clear and transparent to us. I would say the state did a good job in that respect from us. There was one, I did want to ask you about the different agencies that we sign up with, right? So for foster to adopt, there are agencies that we have to sign up with who intercede on our behalf with the state in order to facilitate a fostering process, right? And then they give us a list of however many, 15 different agencies in Phoenix. For us, I kind of spent a lot of time doing a research on all of them to see how open to the LGBTQ community they were. And I would say probably 90% of them were very clear.
Oh yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
we don't mess with the LGBTQ people, so don't even bother.
It's-
And I think there was one that was like, everybody come on through. Like we just need to get these kids into
Yeah.
a loving home, and if you're gay, cool, let's get it done. So that's who we went with. What was your experience there?
With this agency, we knew off the back that they supported LGBT community, so it was our first. We looked at a few, but that one just kept sticking out, and unfortunately, I can't remember the name of that agency for some reason. But it was a great agency. The only thing that I didn't appreciate was they didn't want to house a female with us. That's the one thing again that I went back and forth with them. That we actually almost got our license revoked because of me calling them out on it. Yeah, I'll tell you, I was heated, but
And they never came around to it, right? 'Cause
no,
you
they never
got
came
your
around to it
placements
because
through
they
the
said,
state, yeah.
I said to them, so you want to take I said, you want to take my license away because I'm calling you out on something that doesn't make any sense. You're telling me that we can't raise a female because you're saying we don't have motherly love. But again, like I said, to me, there's no such thing as motherly love. It's just love in general, how I was brought up. But if you want to go and take my license for the and not place us with kids and ruin these kids, lives, go and do so. That's not going to be that's not going to be my mind. That's going to be in your mind.
So what is so devil's advocate, right? Motherly love for a girl, but it's okay not to have quote unquote motherly love for a boy. That it just doesn't jive.
It doesn't jive with me at all. And also, then we saw a pair of lesbians there that were able to raise a boy. When in the back of our heads, we're thinking, so you're going to let us as gay men take a boy, not to say, again, that's what we were there for, to do that type of thing, but make that make sense for me. If it's all about love, if we're here to just talk about love, I mean, love, it comes in many shapes and forms, many different ways. Like I said, and I was raised by a female grandmother, mother, and have two sisters, so I know exactly what that feels like and what that is. I wasn't raised by a male, but however, I developed my own sense of what love should look like just based
Right.
on being around females. But I'm a male that can deliver both.
Right. So yeah, I struggle with this a little bit as well. And earlier on in that process, I wanted to make sure that we were representing not just our interests, but also helping to change the misconception of gay men and kids. We're predators. We're here to do A, B, C, and D. And it's like, well, where'd you get this
Where'd
from?
you get
This is
that?
have you like? So I was always very cautious about what we did, what we said, where we went, how we behaved, how, Karen from across the street was looking at us.
Still like that.
It's less so for us in our neighborhood because we have a good, one of the things that I posted on my Instagram today is that gay fathers have a good opportunity and they're very good about creating communities and using communities to support the parenting style that we have. So we have built a community in our neighborhood. We've built very good relationships in communities at school, at Jacob's school. So we don't really have a lot of that anymore. So it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. But the moment you leave,
My guard is
the
always
state,
up.
yeah, it's hard, right? Because it's always there, and it's something that's comfortable for us to always have this thought in the back of our heads because it's always been there from day one.
Yeah.
So.
We've recently just came back from a trip where a small town, and you could tell like they haven't experienced anything like it. Like we're out in the streets walking, both Trevor and I,
And
with
you're
the
interracial.
kids, and interracial.
So an extra level for us black men. I tell that all the time. I'm like, first of all, you're black. That's the first thing they see. And then it's two guys and a kid. It's like, okay, where's the mom?
Where's
What do you mean,
the mother?
mom?
Hey, the mother, this is two dads today. There's two dads with two boys, just raising, trying to live life.
And now for a brief break. I want to tell you about ELYSIUM. It's not just my newest novel, it's a story that feels like a secret whispered through time. It starts with Eli, a boy with a past that doesn't quite fit and a bracelet that shouldn't exist. One flight, one island, and then everything changes. He thinks it's a vacation, but something is watching, something is waiting. The further he searches for truth, the more questions rise about who he is and what he's truly connected to. ELYSIUM is about identity, legacy, and the hidden system that decides who gets to belong. If you're ready to question what's real and cross into the unknown, ELYSIUM is waiting. Grab your copy now at jmayerspublishing.com or hit the like to the show notes, available in paperback and digital. And now back to the show. And an interracial. I mean, your kids are black and white and Irish, I think. So it's like, okay, what is really happening? Okay, so
yes.
one kid is yours, and the other kid is his.
That's what everything just goes through your head. So my guard is always up, especially when we definitely travel. Like we went out to, where did we travel to recently? Williams, Arizona, very small town, and you walk outside, people are looking. I'm like, do you notice that people are looking? He's like, yeah, but I'm not letting it bother me. I'm like, I have to make sure that guard is up because I feel like I'm always on guard because I don't want anything to happen at all. I don't want to be set. I don't want to be
situational awareness.
Nothing like that. Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm aware of my surroundings, so I'm prepared because I don't want to be caught off guard.
Right.
So that's why I'm always on guard just in case anything happens. I'm always ready for something to say. I always have something in the back of my head ready to say something just in case.
I'm always thinking to myself, am I really ready to fight somebody?
And it's not even a physical fight.
For me, it is.
It's verbal. If you want to get down, hey, bring it out of me. But verbal, I'm always ready to leave somebody dumbfounded.
But see, that's where my mind goes because the last time I fought somebody was high school, and I didn't do a really good job. But I feel like since that time, I'm mentally prepared for it. But if I engage someone in a protective nature because they said something out the side of their mouth, I have to be ready for that to be a possibility.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to say anything. Right.
Yeah.
but it is not in my nature to do so because I've always been on guard. Yep. Much like yourself, I walk into a restaurant. Okay, where my brothers and sisters at? No. Okay, maybe this isn't the one for us, right?
Exactly.
And I've been blessed to the point where Nick is very supportive and understanding of that as well. He's very aware that if I don't look comfortable, this ain't for us. Let's move on somewhere else. So I think that we, as gay parents, as black parents, always kind of have to lead with an extra layer of awareness. But for me, again, it's being able to represent being black, being gay, and having a redheaded kid.
Having kids, yeah.
So it's a journey. It's been fun. I would tell you the scariest part for me has still been, now that we have a kid, how far does it go where we're having this kind of a honeymoonish type of period? Because he's already been approached to say, hey, you have gay dads. That doesn't compute for me. And so we've had conversations with him about what does that look like? What does it mean? Why are people asking about it? Why does this feel like new to them? They have a mom and a dad. Where is my mom? Why don't I? So all those questions, we rip the Band-Aid off. We're not we're not sprinkling, a little no, because they need to have they need to know what's going on so that they can answer these questions appropriately, because it's gonna come up when we're not there.
It recently happened. Because I'll ask the kids. I'm like, has anybody said anything to you guys? They're like, about what? Well, rewind back. I approached them. I said, when I thought they could understand, I said, do you know what gay is? You know what lesbian is? You know what straight is? I said, okay, you have two gay parents. You have two gay fathers. Like, okay. And like, that's what gay means. So like, okay, then what's lesbian? Well, when two women like each other, that's what, and then That's what a lesbian is. And then straight is when a man and woman, they like each other. Like, okay, so they're like, what? So what does it matter? I'm like, I'm just letting you know, so you know, just in case anything happens. So preparing them for school was interesting. And like I recently asked them, I said, hey, has anything ever come across? Has anyone ever said anything when they see us? And they go, oh, just one of our friends just asked, how did you guys have two dads? Because you need a woman. And I said, you know, you're adopted, right? And like, yeah, that's what we told them. So they don't understand that they're adopted, meaning they're friends, but they understand that they're adopted. And you know how it came about. Like we were very upfront with them from the get-go when it started to register, when life started to register, probably about 5, I would say, a bit. That's when we were kind of open with them and said, this is gay, this is lesbian, this is, you know, we're interracial. It doesn't matter what color you are. All of that conversation came into play, and I feel like we do that on a daily, just as a reminder for them.
Intentional parenting. Yeah, and I think that's perhaps our new generation's way, and I think maybe even more so unique, if you will, for gay parents, because we have to do that, right? In order for our children to be prepared to have these conversations, be ready to say, okay, yeah, I already talked to my dad about this. What you're telling me is not new. Like, let me educate you on me. And I think it's good to be able to do that. Really quick segue. My son is of the age where sex is a conversation.
Gosh.
So so we've had the birds and the bees conversation, but we also pay attention enough to know when to have that conversation. And you know, we had it. We were very transparent. You know, this is what happens. You know, male, female, female, male, female, female, male, male. What we did not get into is what we do in our personal relationship.
Right.
We don't need to get into any of that.
Right.
This is just, you know, the clinical way of explaining what this is. And I wanted to make sure that he had the unvarnished explanation so that when he's talking to his friends, who are the same age, who don't know nothing, it's like the blind leading the blind. I do this example all the time. They're talking about, oh, you know, I'm gonna do this cowabunga move with this girl, and it's like, what is that? Oh, I heard about it from. Okay, but what is that? I don't know. So when you're 16, 17, talking about let's do some cowabunga, and the girl looks at you and goes, what is that? What are you talking about? So it's the distinction between saying, hey, that's not a thing. Let me explain to you what they could be talking about in social media, and maybe you picked it up somewhere. So I always believe in transparency being front and center. I'm not gonna lie to you. You ask me, that means you're ready to know.
You're ready to know.
So I'm gonna tell you.
Absolutely. That is so true. That is so true. I feel my kids are age 6 and 7. I feel like they pick up real quick, and that's because of
too quick.
Yeah, I'm a little too quick, and I don't remember being that age picking up like that. But for some reason, I'm noticing like little things that they come up and say, "I'm like, where did you learn that from school?" I'm like, "Cause I know I don't say things like that."
Social media.
So they don't even have an opportunity for that.
But their friends do.
So,
you know,
like
the mom that has a kid at the restaurant that's on the tablet all day watching YouTube. That's the kid that's asking your kid.
And it's funny because we, as you know, I know you do too, we limit that time on YouTube. They don't have access to YouTube. And honestly, not even kids' YouTube. Because I sat there and watched something with them. I'm like, what's going on here? I don't like this. We ain't watching this. And I feel like it's not an extra protection. It's because we know, I feel like we have to do a little bit more extra parenting than straight couples do.
Okay, get into it. Tell me why.
And it's because, one, we're gay. We have to protect our kids in different ways. One, from society, from what they're going to encounter. And another thing is what people perceive, how gay men or couples treat their kids. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to live just like y'all. We're trying to live our lives and give them the best life that we know that they deserve as kids, and have a good time in this, grow and create this generation for ourselves and for them, and treat them the right way and direct them in a path where we feel like, you know, we weren't directed, or the opportunities that we weren't given. That's what we're here for. It's just to give them the life that we know they probably weren't going to get with their birth parents. But as us being gay parents, we do get that little extra. I think
twice as hard for a half, right? We heard as black kids, we heard that, and it's true as gay parents as well, because we have to fight against the misconception, and we cannot allow them to learn all of the things we are currently trying to unlearn.
Yes,
by just plugging into something and going, oh, okay, that's the way that works. No, that's the way DC says it works. And I always use trans as an example. Nick and I were talking about this the other day, where politicians are trying to say they don't want trans people in their restrooms because men, even though they're transitioning into females, are likely to assault women in the back. And I'm thinking to myself, when was the last time you heard of anybody assaulting somebody in a bathroom? But now you're okay with a man that looks better than your wife being in the men's bathroom with you. You're okay with that.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Okay. So then Nick was telling me, so there's some of the trans community out there going, okay, well, we'll be coming for your men then, since we'll be in the men's room. And I'm like, oh, well, see, there you go.
There you go.
So, I mean, you put it on yourself.
Yeah.
So good luck with that.
People are afraid of what they don't understand. And
it is a struggle.
All you have to do is ask questions. And people are afraid to ask questions because they don't want to know.
All you have to know is know somebody.
Yeah. All you get is know somebody.
Because that makes it real. When you know somebody, it makes it real.
And put yourself in this space. Are you willing to put yourself in that space and actually learn and grow? Or just keep that one-track mind because this is what you were taught. And one thing is being taught something as a kid and then knowing, okay, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. However, I'm going to take what I've learned, obviously, and then as an adult, this is what I'm going to do with it. But as that I know, speaking of, I have a cousin, actually, different thought process from myself, and it's surprising because she's a female, black female, and she voted for Trump, which vote for you want to, I don't care. But her responses sometimes of things that I share. One, I shared something about Elon, and she says, "We're all a little bit crazy, aren't we?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're all a little bit crazy, but let's go into this conversation as to why I have shared this post. Do you want to understand that?" And her comment is, "No, I really don't want to know. It's because I'm going to tell you something that's something that gets your mind open, and that's opposite from what you're thinking. But you want to keep this one-track mind. That's fine. But you don't want to have this conversation because you're not ready to be that open about it. You don't want to hear the other side. You just want to keep this one-track mind and have that thought process, which found me because I'm going to still love you no matter what. However, we all think differently. Yes.
Yep.
That's what people don't understand is we all have this different thought process about life and how we should live and how we should be raising our kids. And so
the diversity is an important in thought process.
Diversity in thought, absolutely.
People that are around you. And so I guess one of my last questions here that I would ask is, how do you think this has impacted your social circle from being kidless, which sounds bad, but right before having kids to having kid? How do you think that's impacted your
Honestly,
social
it hasn't shaken it up in any way bad at all because our circle is very small and that's how we like it. But people are obviously receptive of having kids. However, our circle that we have with kids has blossomed, and that's what we love because we get to see how you and you and Nick get to raise Jacob. And, I pay attention how you talk, how you interact, and I'm taking those notes. I'm like, okay, because he's a different age of our kids. However, I didn't meet Jacob at a very young age.
Yeah, I think he was 6.
Yeah. And I think 5.
Was he 5?
Yeah,
oh,
5.
Geez.
And just
He's
think
11
about,
now.
I remember,
we are
and a big difference from when I
Yes,
first met him.
night and
And
day.
I'm watching and paying attention how you have conversation with as a black man, and then how Nick does, and I take those notes. I'm like, okay, I like that, and it's something I can utilize. So having friends that have kids and that has had that experience before us, there's a lot of notes to take. I'm always open for learning, and that's one thing. You got to be open to doing something different and open to have that diversity of thought and learning from other people. I think that's super important because people are set in ways. I'm set in my ways to an extent. However, if I know something's good or there's an opportunity for growth for myself, I'm going to pay attention to my surroundings. And the best part about having the kids with friends is you get to learn that. Even from like those who are straight that we have that have kids, you are going to learn something about it, being a parent, being a father, being a friend. So I find that circle that I have super important, and I'm going to hold that close to me because, yeah, you don't want to lose that circle.
That's what I keep telling Nick as well, and is in part the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, because I think a lot of gay parents are just now starting to plug in to wanting to have kids. So they go down that path and then they have kids and then they're like, okay, but none of my friends who are also gay have kids, because it's really more of a new thing for us to just be able to go out. And it's still not always as easy to go out and adopt a kid. You know, there are different ways to do it that sometimes, you know, shortcuts the bureaucracy. And then there are other ways that are extremely expensive because it's not something you can just go do. But how do you feel your patience level has changed? I'll tell you this. I have learned so much about myself going through this thing that it's kind of scary, because I thought I had it together. And then it wasn't until I had Jacob that I recognized, what have I been doing this whole time? It's like I'm the most patient person in the world, and I had Jacob. I ain't got no patience.
Patience. I got some patience, but then I would say this honestly: my patience has always been the same, but unfortunately, my patience goes to work. My patience goes to work, and then patience goes to the kids. So when it comes down to my husband Trevor, he don't get out of that.
Oh, he's the balance.
So that's something where I know I would need to work on, because I think without kids, he would have that patience.
Yeah,
but having the kids added that extra. Okay, I gotta give these patience to these kids, because sometimes I wanna rip my hair out. However,
and that's where that love comes in. It's like, okay, you've had too much. Go sit in the corner somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's great to go back and forth. What I enjoy about being a parent, I got to see Trevor grow as a man and turn into his father, someone who I thought would never ever be interested in kids. Yeah, and then seeing him now, I'm like, okay, I love seeing this person as my husband, as a dad, and his approaches. What I also appreciate is we know when we've had it and we can tap out. All right, I'm tapping out. It's your turn, because I can't, because you're going to get something that I want to give. So I'm going to tap out. And I love that we know that about each other with the kids, as we know
it's a telegraph, right?
Yeah, we know our bowling points. We just look at each other.
Like, oh, okay, I got it. From way across the room, I got it. I got it.
And we just know. So he'll take over, or vice versa, I'll take over. I mean, also there are some opportunities, I feel like, for us as parents is, we think one way is right. But usually, honestly, I feel like my way is always the right way.
I'm sure he feels the same way too.
No, I'll give it to him. He doesn't give in a lot to things, but that's the one thing he'll give in to me, because I'll utilize my experience as having, being around a bunch of kids and having younger cousins than myself, and that approach. So I think he does give in a little bit more when it comes to the parenting. He'll let me do a lot more disciplinary action and having those conversations. I'm so open with making sure we talk about our feelings, because that's one thing I remember as a kid that we didn't do. So that's one thing I am saying to myself, okay, when you have kids, now that have kids, we're talking. If something's wrong, we're talking about it. I don't care. Like Genesis, I'll say, for instance, he reminds me of myself, because sometimes when he's on the mood, he's on the mood. And I have to tell him, it's like, this is a house where we talk about different things. I know you better, you know yourself. And that's so funny I say that, because I used to laugh. My mom would say that to me. I mean, it makes sense. I know you better. You know, your mom's gonna listen to this. I know you better. And then finally, like after 4 tries, okay, I'm like, this is also we talk about our feelings. You're not gonna bottle it up. Something's wrong. I'm gonna know right out of the back, and you're gonna tell me, because I'm gonna bug you until you tell me. It's okay, Dad, I'll tell you. And it'd be something so random. I was upset because the way you said this to me, I'm like, okay, I need to know this so I can improve the next time. And
So I
this is
cannot
why we
say it.
talk.
Yeah.
I need to know what your buttons, what pushes your buttons, what you don't like, your dislikes. I'm trying to get to know you as a 7-year-old, just as what you're trying to get to know me as a father. Every year is going to change. Your birthday, I'm saying goodbye to that 7-year-old because you're not going to be the same person. Each year, this is what I do. On birthdays, I'll give him a kiss, mwah, and I'm saying goodbye to that person that I knew because I know this next day you are not going to be that person. And it is so obvious. Just the little things, their likes, their dislikes will quickly change in a year. So I keep telling them I'm trying to get to know you as well. So this is why I want to talk about.
And that's
your
the hard part
feelings.
is the goal keeps moving, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, I finally learned.
Yes.
This, and it's like, nope.
And it's out the door.
Psych.
I'm like, well, you're gonna get this dad all the time. But what my struggle is, I'm trying to get to know you every single day. And these are the reasons why I ask you questions, why I ask you stuff after school, what happened, who did what, why you react like that. It's because I want to make sure that I understand who you are as a person, as a kid, and who you're trying to be. And I don't want to block any avenues for your growth. I'm just here to listen. So feelings are always out on the table. Jax, on the other hand, he's learned that I love to talk about feelings. So he's the first
No,
one.
let me tell
He's the
you-
first
let me
one.
tell
He
you
will
what
tell
happened.
you. He's like, I am upset. I am angry. I am frustrated. I'm like, so tell me about it.
I
And to
love how
and
they're so
hear
different.
So different.
Oh, I love
To
that.
hear kids say, I'm frustrated, I'm like, back when I'm like, what you frustrated about? You're only 6. But you got frustrations that you can't handle. So let's talk about it. What is it?
That is going to
That-
come in handy
I
when
love
he
it.
is a preteen, because we go through the same thing with Jacob. We're a talking house too, because if he's moody, we know.
We know,
So it's like,
we're moody.
what's wrong? Nothing. No.
First giveaway.
Something's up. Listen, I don't want to talk about it. So we'll either say, okay, well, we'll revisit it, later
Okay.
on today, depending
See?
on the mood, right? We'll
Here are things
revisit
of
it.
learning. Revisit. I don't
Yeah.
like to revisit. You're going to tell me.
Well, here's the thing. We've talked about it, and we've said it's not going to pass to the next day. Mm-hmm. But I will bring it back up in an hour, and please be ready to talk about it. And it kind of helps set the tone to say, when I engage you next, I
Be
need
prepared.
you to open it up. As opposed to, there are some times where we ask them, what was wrong? No, I don't want to talk about what was wrong. I don't want to talk. So it becomes an additional tug of war. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. So it's like, okay. When I bring it up next time in an hour, be ready. And then when we do, then it's like, okay, this is what happened. Somebody at school said blah, 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 blah. And I think oftentimes, because he knows some trigger words for us. If somebody at school said something, we've got our pitchforks and we're ready to rock and roll, right? Yeah. But it also requires some conversation to be like, okay, are you just trying to set us up for something? But he's very eloquent. He can communicate his feelings as long as we give him the space to do that.
Okay. See, look at that tip right there. Because I go in right then and there. I'm like, you're going to tell me right now. I'm not going to time. I want to know.
Well, it's kind of like us with adults, right? When we're feeling some type of way and where somebody keeps pushing us, we're like, we climb up more. We're like, no, I'm not ready. I said
That's true.
no. And then an hour later, you're like, okay, I'm ready. Let me
That's
tell you.
true.
Right? So it's like, okay, you just need to get your mind right.
I need to process this. I'm a processor. I need to process my emotions because you don't want me
It's
at
gonna
that
come out
time.
wrong,
It's going to come out
right?
wrong.
Yeah.
And you think I'm rude, nasty.
Yeah.
Ain't got no home training.
What are you doing here?
Oh, yeah.
All right, Michael.
That's a good enough
This is the end of our podcast. Listen, I appreciate you taking the time today to engage with us on this podcast. I think it is extremely, extremely important to have different perspectives on fatherhood, especially from the LGBTQ side, which I think, again, is a component that we can never have enough of because it has those additional layers that I think others may take for granted when they're doing parenting. I think that there are things that they can learn from the LGBT community, emotional intelligence.
Oh, yes.
Right? And the type of parenting that's very specific. I am targeting being able to turn the volume up on this because traditionally speaking, toxic masculinity says, hide your emotions. Let's not talk about that. It's like, well, no,
we only emote.
We raising CEOs in this house.
Okay,
and they need to be able
that's
to
right.
express themselves.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, shareholders, let's talk, right? So
we're raising a lawyer and a veterinarian. Hello, goodbye.
well, there you have it. On that note, I want to say thanks for everyone to listening. I know this episode is going to run a little bit long, but we certainly had some good conversations, and we look forward to the next. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be a part of this, and hopefully I get to be a part of a next one.
There's gonna be tons of them.
Yay!
There's
this
a lot
is
to talk
great.
about.
This filled my cup. Honestly, this is awesome.
Awesome. All right, thanks, guys.
Do it like you can never find somebody do it like me. I'ma turn it all the way up, cause it kamikaze. Go ahead and try, baby. You are gonna see that you'll never ever find somebody do it like